Welcome again to the Sunday Gorilla Men's Bible Study. I'm Brother Thomas Lee Harris III. We are continuing in our study How to Pray, and we have reached into the book of Daniel, and we acknowledged in Daniel chapter 2 how as we make reference to the Lord's Prayer, as Jesus showed us, that it starts out by saying, "Our Father, holy is your name," acknowledging that God is holy. And with Daniel's conversation with Nebuchadnezzar wanted his dream interpreted, and Daniel once again he shows the king, tells the king that it is God who is the provider, God who gives the answer, and through that revelation, the unbeliever, the king, acknowledges for a moment that it is God who is holy. All right. So I want to go now to the book of Daniel and to see some physical characteristics of how to pray, right? Getting into, do I lay down? Do I jump up? You understand? We saw in Matthew 6 how go into the closet. And I just want to go into Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. And it says, "Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room, with his windows open toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was the custom since early days." Amen. And I read that verse to see that it was like Daniel adhered to the teachings of his forefathers and the history that was given to him from David. Right? So it was a format that was recognized as holy. And it was the kneeling down to pray. And in their case, they said it was custom to pray 3 times a day. Okay, so we've also acknowledged in the early part of this study that we are developing a relationship with God. And a relationship requires a conversation. And the relationship and the conversation is based on God, which we found in His Word. And the deeper we study the Word, it is almost proportional to our ability to conversate or have conversation with God. Amen? So, I don't see anything wrong with us today pausing 3 times in the day and praying. Because that was established by the holy forefathers of this study, right? And it's not, whenever we pause, right, consciously, remember, it is to acknowledge that God is in control. God is holy, right? We want to pause, put things in perspective. And if we're honest with this text and this study, we will see that when I don't consciously reach for God during the day and acknowledge God, and I go 6-7 hours on my own thing, I'll be way off the mark. So I understand why Daniel, which was the custom of the elders, to pause 3 times in the day, because it breaks up those long periods of time where we consciously, which we have the ability to do as humans, to lose conversation with God. Now this is for remember, Sunday Gorilla Men's Ministry It is a new prison ministry. It's for new believers. It is for those who started this walk with Christ. And many of us who have lived a life, years of doing our own thing, right? Running wild with the devil. So in the beginning, we need physical helpers, physical markers to get us right. Now to the believers who've been doing it for years, right? You may not need these physical markers or reminders. But I'm asking, suggesting, just a suggestion, that the members of this study try it out. Right? 3 times a day where you consciously stop and get on your knees. Okay? As soon as you fall out of bed, bloom. Right? As soon as you fall out of bed, just slide out of bed on your knees. Ding! We've got to get another one in there somewhere around lunchtime. Right? Even if it's just to go down, say you go in the bathroom, right? And you go in the bathroom, and you touched your knees. You see, now I'm consciously there. Got down on my knees, now I'm going to start consciously. I could be sitting on the toilet. Right? I'm conscious. You see, I got conscious with it. It's a physical reminder. Right? It helps my physical man in tune with my spiritual man. And we're going to get to the spiritual. We're going to get to the spirit coming up. This is about a 20-part series. Amen. All right? So we need these physical reminders to pull us back because of our physical walk during the day. It's possible with the hours in the day to get drifted off. Right? We get into the computer, we get into work, we get into the kids, we get into school, right? Studying. The pause, the acknowledgement, right? Even say I've been studying for 4 hours biology, right? And here comes my midday prayer. I want to just, in that prayer, I want to acknowledge, God, it is you who gives me the wisdom to understand this biology. Right? Pausing to acknowledge that God is holy. Pausing to claim the victory in Jesus. Right? Reaffirming. Pausing to acknowledge that God, it is you who allow me to continue in success, in the victory. You order my steps and protection from the enemy. Amen? Right? So it's a three physical, conscious pauses in the day that we want, as a suggestion, we want to move forward and partake in that from here on out for a while. Right? Let's partake in that. So morning, as soon as you slide out of bed, boom, hit your knees. Somewhere in the middle of the day, all right? So morning, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9, 10, 11, 12. So around 3 o'clock, between 12 and 3, we got to stick another prayer in there. Amen? And the prayer is a conversation with God. And then, of course, at the end of the day, before I lay down, I got to acknowledge it. Amen? So that's what we'll go to. And I'll end this study on it, on this part. And we'll just call this part the physical. The 3 physical manifestations. Conscious stopping in the day and acknowledging, having a conversation with God. Amen?